this year's Trail Bike of the Year test, we got together 20 bikes with 120 to 150 mil of rear wheel travel. After months of testing, the eventual winner was the Commencal Meta TR 29 Brit Edition, which comes in at £3,400 or $4,200. The 29er versions of the Meta bikes from Commencal were released earlier in 2018. The AM version, with 150 mil of travel, has been a great hit in the enduro world, with Cécile Ravenel winning every single round of the EWS on that bike. When we heard that they were doing a trail version with 130 mil of travel at the back, we were really excited, and then they announced that there's going to be a Brit Edition too, with some slight changes for the UK market. At this point, we knew we had to get the bike into Trail Bike of the Year because we figured it was probably going to be pretty good. Now, Commencal didn't make a Brit Edition in order to keep their market here when we leave the EU. They made it because the riding in the UK is kind of different to what a lot of Europeans ride, and so they figured we needed a bike specifically for our market. You can of course buy it all over the world anyway. So what makes it different? Well, it still gets 130 mil of travel at the back. However, instead of 140 mil forks, they've plugged in a 150 mil to keep the travel at the front nice and high. They've also stuck on grippier, stickier tyres because they reckon we like to ride steep, rooty, muddy terrain. And I think they've got it just about right. Commencal use aluminium for all their frames. On the Meta TR 29, the shock is nestled nicely into the underside of the top tube, as we first saw on the V4.2. It uses a pretty standard 4-bar linkage, so there's a pivot just above the rear axle rather than on the chainstay. The geometry is bang up to date for an aggressive trail bike. A size large has a reach of 475 mil and there's a 66.5 degree head angle. The BB sits at 38 mil below the axles, which drops it nice and low. And there's a 76.5 degree seat angle, so that's pretty steep. It feels then that Commencal have been reading the manual on how to make a modern trail bike. Commencal do have a reputation for bringing out some very good value money for bikes, and I think the Brit Edition is fairly good value for money, though not astounding. At the front of the bike you get that 150mm Fox 36 factory fork. The test bike we had the RC2 damper in the fork. However, production bikes will get a grip too, and this is a better damper, so even though ours perform really well, the production ones get an even better fork. At the back there's a Fox factory DPX2 shock, so this comes with 3 positions of compression damping as well as an adjustment of the compression in the open setting too. It's a really decent shock and it has a piggyback for consistent performance when the shock starts to warm up. There's a SRAM GX 12-speed group set, and the bike is brought to a stop by a pair of Shimano Xt Brakes. Now these are the 2-pot versions, but they do have a 200mm rotor at the front and 180mm at the back. E13 provide the TRS wheel set, but as I mentioned earlier on, the tyres make this bike stand out from the other bikes in the TR29 range. Up front there's a 2.35-inch Schwalbe Magic Mary tyre, and this comes with the Addix Soft compound. It's not the softest, but it is very soft, and because of those rims there's lots of volume up front. At the back there's a 2.35-inch hands damp, and this is the new version with the updated tread. Finishing the package is a KS11 Tegra seat post with 125mm drop, a fabric scoop saddle, and a Renthal cockpit, that's bar, stem and grips. The Meta TR29 Brit Edition has won Trail Bike of the Year in 2019, and there's obviously a number of reasons behind that, but there is probably one overarching reason, and that is because it's actually the least compromised in every area of riding of any of the bikes, making it arguably, and I think, the best all-round trail bike on the market this year. The thing about the Commencal is that it's not the best climber in the test. That would probably be the Bergamont Contrail, for example. It's not the best descender either. You could argue that the Vita to Scarp is one of the best bikes out there in this segment when the trail starts pointing down. Is it the best between the trees? Well, probably not either. The reason why the Commencal won though is that if you look at all the different metrics of what defines a good trail bike, whether it's climbing, in between the trees, descending, value, the Commencal is up there in every single segment. It's pretty good at climbing. There's grippy tyres, there's a decent range from the back end, and the suspension system is relatively neutral, so it doesn't bob around too much. And if it does, just flip the lockout lever. In between the trees, when it's nice and twisty, you can sprint out those corners without getting too bogged down in the rear suspension. The shape is good, so on those flatter corners you can really push that sticky tyre into the trail. When it starts descending, the bike opens up and it is flat out. The big 29-inch wheels help things roll over. The rear suspension is very well controlled through the entirety of its stroke. There's nice amounts of progression towards the end, and there's plenty of mid-stroke support as well, so you can push against the pedals in berms, and there's good small bump sensitivity on the finer stuff too. It's also an incredibly fun bike to ride. It's flat out fast, but it's also nice and agile. We did our final testing and filming out in Finale Ligure in Italy. The Commencal was the bike everyone wanted to be filmed on, everyone wanted to ride, and when we had free time to just go and ride, it was the first bike that got grabbed out of the garage. We were really excited when we heard that they were making this Brit edition of the TR29 with a longer fork and stickier tyres. And Commencal haven't disappointed at all. It's fairly good at the hills, it's nice and fun between the trees and round tight corners, and it really opens out when the trail gets gnarly. We also think, and this is something you can't really measure, it's a really desirable bike. Aesthetically, it looks spot on with that racing green frame matched with the bright orange forks. We can't make a bike a winner because it looks good, but it definitely helps in its desirability factor. Ultimately then, the Commencal is the bike I would recommend to most people. If you want to go out and bang 60–70k on like a true trail mountain bike ride, it might not be the one. But if you go out for a few hours or like a fun day with a bit of uplifting or pedaling up some fire roads and then hitting steep, rooty, muddy, gnarly trails, I would thoroughly recommend the TR29 Brit Edition. It is a fantastic bike, and sadly, I have to send this one back. So what do you think? Have I got it right? Have I picked the best trail bike in 2019? I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe.